Often.
A few years ago, my grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. This diagnosis had a huge impact on me and my whole family. Knowing that my grandmother has only so many years left to live is devastating to me because I am very close to her, and now I'm slowly losing her. It has been a few years since she's been diagnosed, and she's now a completely different person. Her personality has changed, and the way she acts and interacts with people is very different. Having conversations with her is hard because she will forget what we were talking about 5 minutes after we talk about it. The effects of Alzheimer's on my grandmother impacts her, but it also impacts me and my family. Hi, my name is Addie, and I chose to do my project called Crafting for a Cure on Alzheimer's disease. For this project, I came up with the essential question, what progress have we made towards finding a cure to Alzheimer's disease? It is extremely important to try to find a cure, and by raising money and spreading awareness about this disease, could greatly help fund research for a cure. Each year, so many people die from this awful disease, and even donating a single dollar can make a big impact. Throughout this project, I have learned that there is a ton of research being done on Alzheimer's disease. This includes how and why it happens, what it does to the brain, different ways to possibly slow down the progression, and there are even big steps being made towards finding a cure. Throughout a healthy aging process, the brain usually shrinks only a little bit, but when this happens, neurons aren't lost in large numbers. With Alzheimer's disease, many neurons stop functioning and lose connections with other neurons and ultimately die. It disrupts the processes that are vital to their networks. Alzheimer's disease starts by destroying the neurons and their connections in the parts of the brain that are involved in memory, such as the entorhinal cortex and the hippocampus. In later stages, it affects parts of the cerebral cortex that is responsible for language, reasoning, and social behavior. Eventually, many other areas of the brain are damaged. Over time, a person with Alzheimer's gradually loses his or her ability to live and function independently. By the final stages of Alzheimer's, this process called brain atrophy is widespread and causes significant loss of brain volume. On average, a person with Alzheimer's lives 4 to 8 years after diagnosis, but can live as long as 20 years, depending on other factors. But unfortunately, in the end, the disease is fatal. As I was doing my research about possible cures and ways to slow down this disease, I found that the FDA approved a new treatment called Addie, which is an amyloid beta-directed antibody indicated to treat Alzheimer's disease. Addie is the first novel therapy approved for the Alzheimer's disease since 2003. Since the beta amyloid protein clump together to form plaques that collect between neurons and disrupt cell function, this treatment may prove to be very effective when it comes to unclumping the beta amyloid protein and getting rid of the built-up plaque. This treatment was approved using the Accelerated Approval Program that allows for earlier approval of drugs that treat serious conditions. There are many factors that could potentially help reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease, some of which include physical activity and diet. A meta-analysis indicated that physical activity is able to reduce the risk for getting Alzheimer's disease by 45%. Physical activity causes adaptations that occur in response to exercise that can lead to better cerebral blood flow and better oxygenation of important areas for cognitive function. It was reported that in the Alzheimer's disease elderly, practice of physical activities correlates positively with levels of BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factors, which is a growth factor associated with the development and survival of neurons and synapses. Diet has been found to be a factor that is associated with either having a lower or higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. For example, a Mediterranean diet is rich in unsaturated fats and antioxidants, which confers to a protection factor. As diets that are rich in saturated and trans fat and low levels of antioxidants are associated with higher risk of developing Alzheimer's. Some dietary components are essential for neurocognition protection, such as dietary fatty acids, including fish oil, antioxidants such as vitamins E and C, fruits and vegetables, vitamins B6 and B12, and folate. These help with the synthesis of phospholipids, synaptic function preservation, and help stop neurodegeneration. Because my grandmother has Alzheimer's, this greatly impacts my family. Since she's forgetting more and more things and not being able to remember to take care of herself and do everyday tasks, it is making it harder for my grandfather to take care of her. There is a lot of stress being put on him because he needs to constantly monitor her wherever she goes. This means that my mom and her siblings now need to help out more when it comes to taking care of her, since she can't be left alone. It is a relief for my grandfather when someone in the family can help out with taking care of her. Alzheimer's has not only put a lot of stress on both of my grandparents, but also everyone in my family. There are many ways that we can help support the Alzheimer's community and help support research for cures. One way you can help is funding research for a cure by donating. I made bracelets in support of Alzheimer's disease and sold them to people in my community. While doing this, I was also educating people about Alzheimer's disease and how it affects both the person who has it and the family and friends around them. I then took the money I got from these bracelets and donated it to the Alzheimer's Association. In the end, I was able to raise $500, which is way more than I anticipated. By donating even $1, you are helping the Alzheimer's community, and that can greatly impact finding a cure for this awful disease. Thank you.